Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 842, July the 19th, 2019, Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, let's get through a couple of news items here, and then I want to go back to talk a little bit more about this recent federal lawsuit that was filed in Texas by Mr. Bukowski and his attorney Ty Clevenger regarding the Seth Rich case. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about today, just very quickly, get these things out of the way. First, we've had the second tweet in 2 days by the former director of the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her, the dishonorable former communist James Comey, who's now turned into a social justice warrior. Now, Comey has been running his trap for a very long time. I try to ignore it as much as possible. I really don't like Comey very much. I know most of you don't either. I can't wait till he's in jail. And I believe if there's justice in this world, and if William Barr really does believe in equal justice under the law, that's exactly where Comey is going to end up. So he's sunk pretty low over the past year and a half or so. But he took about maybe one step too far this time. I'm used to him ripping the greatest president, certainly in the last 100 years, Donald J. Trump. But this time he actually goes after the greatest supporters in probably the last 100 years. That's us. So in this particular tweet, we have the former director of the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her, James Comey, the former communist, now turned social justice warrior, making the comment on his Twitter feed saying, quote, "We must send Donald Trump and his mob back to their dark corner. We must send Donald Trump and his mob back to their dark corner." Now, when I look at Trump supporters, particularly, we saw him do a big rally last night in North Carolina. When I look at Trump supporters, they don't appear to me to be people who are hiding in dark corners. They appear to me to be people who like to get out in the sunshine, out in the daylight. They like to get out and associate and socialize with one another, particularly at Trump events. They like their MAGA hats, their t-shirts, they like all the fun, and they like to win. And they love Trump. I don't see them in dark corners. But I do see a lot of individuals like James Comey, the former communist turned social justice warrior. I do see him and a lot of his friends hiding in dark corners, engaged in a lot of activity during 2016, 2017, and even probably before that, in a lot of dark places, hiding, doing things behind the scenes, under the table, in the darkness. They don't seem to like the light of truth very much. In fact, just like a bunch of cockroaches, when you try to shine the light of truth upon them, they flee. Like cockroaches. It's not Trump supporters hiding in the dark corners, Comey. It's you and your ilk and all of you who participated in the coup. And God willing, if the Attorney General and Mr. Durham truly do believe in the rule of law and they understand how important it is to get this right and to bring the criminals, that would be Comey and his friends, to justice, we will certainly be watching Comey and his buddies sent to their dark corners. That's exactly where they need to be for the rest of their life. Sedition is a serious charge, Mr. Comey, right along with lying to the FISA court, right along with obstruction of justice, and a lot of other things. Man, you look at the lying to Congress, my God, lying to the FBI, lying to everybody. That's a despicable son of a bitch, James Comey. Despicable son of a bitch. And now he's going after Trump supporters, referring to them as a mob who need to go back to their dark corner. Doesn't describe any Trump supporter I know. I'm not in the dark corner. I'm out there as much as I can possibly be, trying to shine the light on the real criminals. Comey and his posse and his fellow criminals, they only go and do interviews on friendly news stations. You won't see them go on Fox. They like to hide in the dark corners. They don't like the light of truth being shined on them. They don't like to answer questions. And they certainly don't tell the truth. They didn't tell the truth to the FISA court, did they? No, they didn't. Comey's got a lot of problems. And again, like I said, I do hope that when William Barr said he believes in equal justice under the law, and when we're told that Mr. Durham is a real investigator, is a real straight and narrow lawman, we're going to find out. And I certainly hope it's true. Because the future of the Republic is relying on them to get it right. And if they do, this son of a bitch will be silenced. I'm sick of him. Sick of him. And now he's coming after us personally. Comey's attacking you. He's attacking me. Calling us a mob. Suggesting we hide in dark corners. Couldn't be further from the truth. Son of a bitch. Judicial Watch has discovered some new emails showing more evidence that the Obama State Department was pushing the Russiagate hoax just before the 2016 presidential election. Again, as if we need any more evidence. I've seen enough evidence. I'm good. I'm good. Got enough evidence. Got enough evidence to go to trial. Got enough evidence for them SWAT raids. In fact, I would have been doing that a long time ago. These guys are probably destroying incriminating evidence. They probably destroyed it all already. It's the very first damn thing I would have done if I was Mr. Durham. The very first thing I would have done. You have all the probable cause you need. All the probable cause you need to have conducted the SWAT raids before they can destroy the evidence. Hasn't happened. I'm still waiting. So, Judicial Watch has these emails. Nothing really new here to me. I mean, I guess it's new. I guess it's new to them. Doesn't surprise me, though. But these emails from September 17th, 2016. Email exchange between Jonathan Weiner and, of course, Victoria F. the EU Nuland, setting up a meeting to discuss the Russia matter. Jonathan Weiner, of course, was the messenger boy, the intermediary for Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shearer. Weiner was taking information that was being given to him by Blumenthal, which came from Shearer, which he was then passing on to both Victoria Nuland and Christopher Steele. He was very busy working for the Rotten Reverend. Certainly, Jonathan Weiner has to be right on that list of the many people you have to interview. He was certainly one of the main people that was being used to pipeline the garbage and the dirt through the State Department. And Victoria F. the EU Nuland, the first time she was on TV and she was asked about what she knew about all this, she played dumb. Just like Susan Rice. Huh? What? I don't know. But then when she was caught from the emails, she had to walk it back. Well, yeah, I guess I did hear about that. I did receive some information, and I did look at it, and I did say, well, gee, we better pass this on to the FBI. She was up to her eyeballs in this. She's a dirty woman. We know all about the activities she was involved in, including a lot of the Ukraine stuff. Deeply involved in the coup. And very connected to a lot of the crooked people over in Ukraine, which are a key part of the, Russiagate story. Certainly need to interview her get her under oath. So, Judicial Watch is currently suing the State Department for communications between Victoria F. the EU Nuland, her conversations with people in the FBI, the DOJ, and believe it or not, Confusion GPS. Now, I'm sure that she spoke with people probably in the FBI and the DOJ. No, she generally probably wouldn't do it directly. She would have one of her henchmen do it as an intermediary. That's how these people operate. They have other people do their dirty work. So, but you might find something there. I guess what would be surprising here is if we found that there was a connection to Confusion GPS. Now, Jonathan Weiner, acting as an intermediary between Nuland and the Clinton campaign or the DNC or whoever, and possibly Confusion GPS, that wouldn't surprise me. So it's these intermediaries that you're going to have to interview, because if you interview the seniors, they're just going to deny everything. You know, so you really got to get to the intermediaries first, and you get them to talk. And then you bring in the people like Nuland and the people at the top. Because now you've got a couple people who say, yeah, blah, 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 they knew this, they knew that, I talked to them, they were aware of this, whatever. Then you bring in Nuland and see if she lies. That's how you do that. So yes, we'll hope that Judicial Watch, maybe in a year or two, they'll get these emails, and we'll find out some more. But I've seen enough. We just keep digging and 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 digging, and we just get more and more and more and more evidence. At some point, you got to say, you know what? I think we've got enough evidence to move forward. We pretty much know what happened. We just need to fill in the few blanks. And the best way to do that, impanel a grand jury, bring them in, put them under oath, and fill in the gaps quickly. They're playing the hiding the evidence game. When they're playing the hide the evidence game, you bring their asses in front of a grand jury, put them under oath. Joe DeGeneva was on Lou Dobbs. We had Greg Jarrett filling in, which is great because he's better than Lou Dobbs. And Joe DeGeneva was talking about that little incident where Uncle Bob, the drive-by executioner, along with Rod Rodenstein, were in the Oval Office when Mueller was allegedly interviewing for the job of FBI director after Trump had fired the dishonorable James Comey. And he's talking about the fact that there was a phone left in the Oval Office in the Trump's office after the interview. And so this is kind of like a rumor thing that's been going around for a very long time. I can't even remember where it started. It's been out there for so long. I've talked about it quite a few times. It's very interesting to hear Joe DeGeneva talk about it because I've always treated it kind of as a, likely rumor, but very possibly true. Certainly interesting, needs to be looked into, but we really don't see any real follow-up. I can't even remember where the original story came from, so I don't even know how to cite the source. But DeGeneva's talking about it, and he's talking about the fact, he's talking about Mueller leaving his cell phone in the White House in the Oval Office, and he believes it was that he was left there to record Trump after they left Trump's office. He says it was likely broadcasting to some FBI officials who were listening in. And of course, he brings up the fact that Rodenstein had that conversation with McCabe about wearing a wire. And he said it's very possible that Mueller probably, in that conversation, probably said, hey, well, you don't really need to wear a wire. All you have to do is leave a phone on his desk and then make sure it's in the on position and it's connected to some number where people could be hearing on the other end. Then you walk out of the office and leave it there. Trump doesn't even know it's there. And then he starts talking after we leave the office, and we get to hear what he really thinks or what he really says. So it's an interesting viewpoint. I think it's perfectly credible. Very, very likely did happen. I don't know how you prove that happened, but I guess what's interesting is I've never really heard. I mean, if Uncle Bob left his phone, he would go back and get his phone. Oh, sorry, I left my phone, and you'd figure that out pretty damn quick, wouldn't you? I mean, when you realize that you've gone somewhere and forgot your phone, you figure it out pretty damn quick. It doesn't take long because we're always reaching for the damn thing. It wouldn't take you long to figure out that you forgot your phone, left your phone somewhere. Uncle Bob would go back and get his phone. or we may have heard that Uncle Bob left his phone. There's no reports on that as far as I know. There's no reports that the phone was left there and somebody was suspicious and said, hey, what's this phone doing here? After all, when you go into the Oval Office, you're supposed to give up all of your electronics. All of them. You maybe wear your watch, but your cell phone, you got to give up your cell phone. You can't go in the Oval Office with a cell phone because you could record the president. So how did Uncle Bob and Rodenstein get away with bringing a phone in the Oval Office, if in fact this actually happened? And I don't know. Certainly worth questioning. Would love to know more about that. Hopefully we will get to the bottom of that at some point. We learned again today, something I've heard this before, but we'll go through it again, because it was a long time ago, that it was after the WikiLeaks email releases, and people are going through the WikiLeaks email releases and looking at all the things that were there, but it's kind of come back because of Epstein is back in the news. But it was realized a long time ago, back in 2016, that the Hillary Clinton campaign was monitoring news reports about Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton. They were monitoring news reports, and any time that Clinton's name was mentioned or Epstein's name were mentioned in the same sentence, or were mentioned as them having any association, they flagged it. They flagged it, and they sent it to senior level people in the campaign, which I assume would go to some senior level DNC person who would then look and find out who reported that story. And they would probably get a very nasty phone call saying, hey, don't you ever run a story linking Clinton with Epstein again. Certainly not during this campaign. And that was pretty much what was going on. So I remember hearing about that back after the WikiLeaks came out. That was one of the things that was pointed out, that they were doing this type of stuff in the Hillary Clinton campaign. They were monitoring news reports, not just for Clinton and Epstein stuff, but any news reports that would reflect negatively on the Rotten Reverend, certainly, or her husband, Slick Willie. Anything that was a negative report, they were monitoring it. They would flag it. They would save it. They would email a link or a copy of the story to someone who would then take some action on it. We knew that was going on. And just to follow up on where we are on the Epstein thing, of course, the judge has denied his bail. That shouldn't surprise anybody. His lawyers were actually trying to get him house arrest. Yeah, like you're going to give this guy house arrest. I don't think so. I mean, first of all, the guy's got 2 jets and 2 private islands. He's got they found the fake ID. He's certainly got the financial resources. I mean, he's what you would call a flight risk. He's a pervert and a pedophile. And generally, these people don't change their ways. In addition to that, he's got a history of contacting people who could cause him harm, who could get him into trouble. He sends his thugs to silence them. He pays people off. He threatens people. He does all sorts of thuggish things. And you can imagine if he got out of jail, he would do all of that shit. He would do every bit of it, all 3 of it. He'd probably flee the country with a fake passport to some place where they couldn't extradite him. He would probably hire someone to go after the people to silence him who could get him in trouble. And he would probably continue to engage in his perverse acts of pedophilia. I mean, that's what he would do. He's not right. And the judge made a very good decision. I don't care how much bail. I mean, they're not going to put any bail up for him because this guy can make any bail. You're gonna, maybe $1 billion or something, but like $1 million, 10 million, 150 million. I mean, he's gonna make bail. And yeah, you're right. He would be a flight risk. So yeah, the judge is definitely not going to grant that. That lawyer was crazy to even suggest it. Okay, with a few minutes I have left here, I want to go back to the story. It's now been 3 to 4 days since Mr. Bukowski's attorney, Ty Clevenger, filed the federal lawsuit, the defamation suit. And in that lawsuit, there's a lot going on. As I said, in that lawsuit, there's a lot of things going on. I'm focusing primarily because the lawsuit's about the people who went after Mr. Bukowski to destroy him. That's what his focus is. My focus yeah, I'm sorry that happened, and I hope he gets, you know, I hope he gets some sort of restitution or whatever. He gets compensated for what's been done to him. I certainly, appreciate that. But my focus is primarily on the other angle, specifically on this Ellen Ratner, this reporter, telling Bukowski that she was told personally by Julian Assange, right out of his mouth, into her ears, that Seth and Aaron Rich were the leakers. And then she asked Bukowski to inform Seth Rich's parents of this. That's what I want to know. Is that true? That's the bottom line. That's all I want to know. Is that true? So it's been 3 to 4 days now. Still no major media organizations reporting on it. The only two of the, sort of what I consider to be somewhat major online media sources, the Conservative Treehouse and the Gateway Pundit, they've both done stories on it. But I'm not seeing it on Zero Hedge. I didn't see it on Fox's website. Didn't see it on Drudge. A lot of other sites, AP, you're not seeing it. And you're certainly not seeing it covered on anywhere. Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, PBS, any of these. Other than CNN tried to write a story that tried to debunk it. But it was really just didn't really strike a chord anywhere. Because they were trying to write a story without actually disclosing this. So it didn't really connect. So there's a couple other things that are kind of floating around out there, which I regard as primarily, most likely, rumor at this point. Could be true, but I'm not sure they are. But there are things people are talking about that are floating around out there. One of them is this idea that, and I think this came, the original source of this, I believe, was DC Patriot, which is a website that, I'm familiar with it, but I would never report anything on DC Patriot and assume it's legit. Could be. I mean, might be. I mean, I'm sure they do report legitimate stuff, but I would never. They would if that was the only person reporting something. I wouldn't bite on it. But I think the original source of this. But other people have picked it up and they're passing it along, and they're picking up this theory and they're passing this around. It's going around Twitter and various other places, 4chan, whatever. That Andrew McCabe, Andy, was the one who gave the stand-down order to the D.C. Metro PD not to investigate the Seth Rich murder and to go with the official story, which is a failed robbery, and then leave it at that. No investigation. That it was McCabe who supposedly did that. But it's also being reported at the same time that this interview that we heard from Seymour Hersh, where Bukowski has this conversation with Seymour Hersh, he records it, and then he makes it public, where Seymour Hersh basically says that he knows that he's got an FBI source, a high-level FBI source, that has read the file, and that he knows that Seth Rich was communicating with WikiLeaks. Now it's being alleged that, again, Andy McCabe was Cy Hersh's source. Again, Cy Hersh doesn't say that in the interview. He just says he's a very high-level person in the FBI, and he's helped Hersh over the years, and that he went and read the FBI file. I find it hard to believe that McCabe would come back, even if he knows Hersh, likes Hersh, or whatever, about such a sensitive issue that he's trying to cover up, and then tell Cy Hersh that, I've read the file, and it was Seth Rich and his brother that leaked the stuff to WikiLeaks. At the same time, we're supposed to believe that McCabe is the guy who put the kibosh on the Metro PD and investigating it. So it really, I don't see how it could possibly be both, and I probably think it's neither. That'd be my guess. That it's neither. But these two things are flying around. Just thought I'd comment on them. I wouldn't put much stock in either of these accusations. I'd give them probably 10% chance or less. But anything's possible. Who knows? Take your best guess. Yours is as good as mine. So, Ellen Ratner, my big question right now. Where is Ellen Ratner? Where is she? I have some advice for her. If in fact what is in that court filing is true, if in fact Julian Assange did tell Ellen Ratner that Seth and Aaron Rich were the sources of the leaks, and if in fact she said, go tell Seth Rich's parents, if in fact this is true, if it's true, then what Ratner needs to do is she needs to very, very quickly go immediately to John Durham's office and sign a sworn statement to this fact. And then she needs to ask and demand protection. And I'm not talking about the D.C. Metro Police either. No, I don't think so. No, U.S. Marshal protection is what I'm talking about. If this is true, and she knows it, there's only two people in this world really that know for a fact if Julian Assange told her that, and that's Ratner herself and Assange. Now, he's a little busy right now in jail in the UK. Don't know if you're going to get to him. But so far as I know, nobody at WikiLeaks, none of the attorneys for Julian Assange, no one on the WikiLeaks side, including Assange himself, no one on his side, as far as I know, has commented on this court filing. If you go to Ellen Ratner's Twitter page, it appears that she hasn't made a post in a long time, since like 2016, spring of 2016. She doesn't seem to be anywhere. But if this is true, she needs to do something. And the best thing she can do is go tell Durham, because once she's signed a sworn statement stating this is true, it's pretty much there. It's now in the official record. It's now in the official record. And it may already be in the official record in the FBI files. We just don't know. But if, in fact, Ellen Ratner is telling the truth, and, I mean, it's just a matter of time, she's going to be, located, because she's going to be served to give a deposition in the lawsuit. And she's going to be asked, is this true? Is this true? And it better be, because she's either going to say, no, it's not true, I was lying to Bukowski, I just made it all up. Or else she's going to say, yes, it is true. That's exactly what Assange told me. So she's got to come clean, one of those two things, and my suggestion to her would be to get out with it now. Holding on to information like that is not healthy. It's not healthy, not good for your health. Getting that information out and on paper to the U.S. Attorney, John Durham, would be very healthy. Of course, you always have to worry, after the fact, but that's why you ask for U.S. Marshal protection, which she would probably need. And she currently needs it now, because believe me, if this is true, she's not the only one that knows it, okay? If this is true, then it's not just her and Assange that know it's true. There's other people who know it's true, including the Riches, Mr. and Mrs. Rich, Aaron Rich, Mr. Bauman, people at the DNC, a lot of people. If it's true, a lot of people know it's true. A lot of people know it's true. And she is going to be asked in this court hearing, this court filing. So, that'd be my recommendation for Miss Ratner. It's not good information to keep to yourself at this point, because now it's out. It's now out. So it's no longer a private matter for you. You have been outed, like it or not. That's just the facts. You've been outed. Now the right thing to do, the safe thing to do, the wise thing to do, is to just go sit down with the U.S. Attorney and just tell him the truth. Maybe it's not true. Maybe she'll say, that didn't happen. Bukowski's making it up. He's dreaming. In which case, he's got a big problem. Probably along with his lawyer, because they filed a federal lawsuit under false pretenses. That'll probably get his lawyer disbarred and get both of them a little bit of jail time and a healthy fine. And it will, of course, blow their credibility. Both of them are professional people. Probably won't help their business at all, their credibility or anything else. So they're taking an awfully large risk and perpetuating a fraud, if that's what it is, which makes it very unlikely that that's what it is. It's most likely that you're telling the truth. And for that reason, Miss Ratner, she better get over to Mr. Durham's office very quickly and sign that sworn statement, and then ask for that U.S. Marshal protection. She's going to need it. So now that this court filing has happened, and again, we're not talking about Mr. Bukowski or his attorney going on to Twitter or Facebook. We're not talking about them going on Alex Jones. No. We're talking about a federal court filing. A legal document. They have made a legal charge. Now, it's a civil case, not a criminal case, but still, a judge in a civil court can refer you to a criminal proceeding if, in fact, you lie to the court. A civil issue can become a criminal issue pretty quickly. So, if this is true, then certainly Barr and Durham will both have heard about it by now, and they would know whether or not it's true. And they have access to the Department of Justice to read the filing themselves. Or they can just go to Mr. Clevenger's website. He's posted the entire thing. It's pretty much everywhere. You can go look at a lot of places. It's on PDF. You know, I was reading it. So if you're Attorney General Barr and you do believe in equal justice under the law, and you did say that you were going to get to the origins of this, and the origins of this really begin in a lot of ways with the so-called hack of the DNC. So if you want to get to the origins of this and the origins of the Russia collusion, you first have to get to the origins of the original thing that came before Trump-Russia. First was the Russians hacked the DNC, and then shortly after came and Trump helped them. And Trump was working with them to hack the DNC, to give the stuff to WikiLeaks. That's the whole narrative. It's two parts. Russia hacked the DNC, and then the second part of that is Trump was working with them. So if you are Barr and you're Durham and you said you're going to get to the origins and you believe in equal justice under the law and you want to get to the truth, you have to go back to the origins. This is where it is. Which means that's why Barr needs to read this, and I'm sure he's aware of it, has to read this civil court filing and say, wow, if this is true, then the Russians did not hack the DNC, and that changes everything. In which case, Mr. Durham and Mr. Barr would need to go do the following. First of all, they need to investigate CrowdStrike. They would need to probably go take a look at the DNC servers. They would probably want to try to interview Assange. That can't be too tough. And he's going to be extradited here shortly. But they could interview him in London. And they certainly need to interview Ellen Ratner. I mean, if I'm Mr. Durham and I find out about this, and I'm sure he's heard about it by now, man, the very first person I would be going to get is Ratner for a handful of reasons, which you can probably figure out. But that'd be the very first one. I said, wow, holy smoke, if this is true, this blows the entire Russia narrative out the door. And this woman, Ellen Ratner, she's a pretty important witness right now. She can actually testify that Julian Assange did tell her this. That makes her a very, very, very important witness in his investigation. And I would be interviewing her ASAP. I'd do it myself. I'd get my damn car and drive over to her house myself with a couple cops. And I'd interview her myself right there. And then if she told me, yeah, that's true, that's what Julian told me, I would say, okay, well, I'm going to be getting you some U.S. Marshal protection, and I'll be getting back to you. Here, sign this paper. That's all I need. And then I would go back and start dealing with CrowdStrike, Uncle Bob the Executioner, the FBI, and everyone else who perpetrated the hoax, including the Right Reverend Clinton, the DNC, CrowdStrike, Mr. Elias, Perkins Coie, and the whole damn crew that perpetrated this freaking hoax, knowing it was a hoax. And the riches, unfortunately, I feel sorry for those people. Their son was killed, but quite honestly, they've been asked many times, and they've always denied, and vehemently denied, that Seth or Aaron were involved in any way, shape, or form in the, giving those emails to WikiLeaks. They've denied that publicly. That would make them liars. I can't understand it, but it would make them liars. And I've always wondered, why didn't Mueller, Uncle Bob the drive-by executioner, why didn't he charge Julian Assange with collusion? He says in his report that Julian Assange was working with the Russians to release the emails that were hacked by the Russians, the DNC emails. He charged the Russians, the Russian trolls, Concord management. That's all being blown up right now. But nevertheless, all the charges against Julian Assange, not a single one of them have anything to do with Russia collusion. Why didn't Uncle Bob charge Julian Assange with collusion when he actually says in the Mueller report that that's exactly what happened? But he doesn't charge him. Why not? Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See ya. Bye.